I would say it's more tasty than meat. If I look at some of the foods that my family eat, when they're talking about meat, they eat chicken or beef or lamb. If I'm looking for protein sources, I can eat about 20 different types of nuts and seeds and beans and all sorts of things. The variety of food is far greater. Again, it's very difficult to say to a wide audience, try this one meal, because there are so many different food preferences out there. So I think what I would say is just think about one meal and think about how to make it plant-based. How would you enjoy it without the meat in it? And don't worry about your other meals. Just get into the habit of changing that meal, because most of us are in a fairly substantial rut when it comes to what we eat. We tend to eat the same meals over and over again. So one of the first things I did was to change from eating spaghetti bolognese to eating spaghetti with lentils in a spicy tomato sauce. And that just became my habit. We were talking about the importance of habit earlier, and it just became a habit that I had little portions of lentils in spicy tomato sauce in the freezer. And when my husband was cooking spaghetti bolognese for the family, I would just say, can you please defrost me one of those? Then when it came to having my porridge for breakfast, I changed from dairy milk to almond milk and just gradually made little substitutions now and again. It was only when I thought, right, now I really do have substitutions for most of my main meals, I'm going to take the plunge and say this is how it's going to be forever. I didn't rush it, and for me the biggest challenge was changing from dairy-based spreads to non-dairy based spreads, because I really did love those. By word of encouragement, I live in a family where there's lots of dairy around, and a couple of weeks ago I ate a mouthful of what I thought was toast with some dairy-free spread on it. It actually turned out to be dairy-based spread, and these days that just tastes rancid to me. So I recognised it straight away and spat it out. But just to encourage you, the thing that used to be my favourite food when I ate meat and dairy now just tastes strange. And I would never ever go back, because I love the way that I eat now.
Thanks for sharing that insight, Sue. I want to touch on something that I see many people doing it. It's intermittent fasting. What's your take on that?
Intermittent fasting, yes, interesting. I think the evidence is stacking up more and more that as a society we're buying too much food and we're eating too much food, and we can argue all day about fats versus carbs versus protein, but ultimately as a population we're eating too much, essentially. And I think there's more and more research now about fasting in various forms. They've done lots of studies into lots of different animal species, and if you take most species that they've studied, if you restrict the amount of calories they eat, they live significantly longer, even up to 30% longer in some species. So I think eating less does work. As for the type of fasting that you might want to do, I think very much like weight loss diets, pick the version that suits you. So there are some people out there that practice energy restriction all the time. So they eat 200 or 300 calories less than they really need every single day. That's quite labour intensive. That means counting calories all the time. Now, some people like the security of that, and for those people, I applaud them. I couldn't do that, but there are those people out there who do, and they get great results, and they're generally in great shape. And there's various ways of doing it. This became famous 5-6 years ago, maybe, with the 5-2 diet, which is where if you're a woman, you eat 500 calories on 2 days a week, and if you're a man, you eat 600 calories on 2 days a week, and then the other 5 days a week. It's not what was published in the media. I bought Michael Mosley's book and I read it, and he advocates a healthy diet the rest of the time, but just not calorie counting. And you can get some good results from doing that. The other thing that's quite on trend at the moment is time restricted eating, where you limit the amount of food that you eat to only in a certain time. So you eat as much as you want, but only within an 8 or 10 hour period of time each day, so that you're fasting for the rest of the time. And I'm sure there are other ways of doing it as well. And people talk about doing a 4-day fast or a week fast where they just have water or they just eat fruit or something like that. And all of those have pros and cons. But I think ultimately having periods of time where we're not taking in calories is good for our bodies. It gives our digestive system time to rest and regroup, and it allows our body to concentrate on other functions other than processing food. So overall, I'm in favour of fasting in various forms.
Would you mind sharing with us whether you do any form of fasting yourself?
Oh, I struggle with it. When the 5-2 diet came out, I made a point of trying it myself because I wanted to be able to talk to patients about it. I found that I got too grumpy on it. I couldn't live on 500 calories a day for 2 days a week. It was making life not really worth living for me on those 2 days. Now, I've met plenty of other people who do very well on it and they don't get hungry and they don't mind and they don't miss the food and they do very well. For me, I think when I do fast, I would tend to either do a 24-hour fast where I don't eat anything from the end of my evening meal one evening until my next evening meal. So during the day, I won't be that thrilled with the whole process, but I know I've got a lovely evening meal to look forward to. Or I've had some success with managing with the time restricted eating, so I limit myself to a 10-hour window and then I fast for the other 14 hours on a day. And those are the two I've had the most success from, and I can recommend those. But the 5-2 is great as well. It just wasn't for me.
Okay. And when you say you fast, do you have any fluids at all?
Oh, absolutely. Yes, I would drink water or herbal tea or black decaffeinated coffee in that time. I think it's really, really important to stay hydrated. It's important for many aspects of health that our hydration remains at a good level. You can lose lots of energy. You can even have a dip in your mental health. And there are lots of reasons to keep drinking water. So absolutely, I'd recommend drinking.
If you enjoy watching this video, please consider subscribing to my channel by clicking here.